Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Artist of the Day. Today I have the honor to have an exclusive interview with Jessica Huebner. She's a daughter from the Los Angeles Louise Huebner. Jessica, welcome to Artist of the Day and thank you so much for this exclusive interview. Dear Jessica, today we want to talk about your mother's legendary book, but first about you. Please tell us something about yourself.
Hi Sarah, happy to talk with you today. A little bit about myself, worked many years in visual effects as a coordinator, associate producer on a big Arnold Schwarzenegger theme park for Universal, called T2 3D, and in recent years doing a lot of vintage instrument consulting and placement for different movies, a Jim Carrey movie, a Hilary Duff movie. Those were always a lot of fun with the instruments.
Dear Jessica, can you please read your foreword for us?
Sure, I'll be happy to read the foreword to my mom's book. Came out 50 years ago, recently re-released, and I wrote the foreword. When I was in the first or second grade, we had a substitute teacher who must have asked us what our parents did for a living. All I remember is her becoming furious with me. "Don't say that about your mother." Uh-oh, I did not understand what the problem was. I think I tried to explain and it made things worse. That moment would shape the rest of my life. After all, my mother was a witch. I get asked all the time, "Are you a witch too?" Nope, I'm not, but I don't know. Maybe I am. What is a witch? My mom was a self-proclaimed sixth-generation witch. At least that's what every newspaper article about her would start with. That would make me seventh generation, and my nieces Stephanie and Aubrey, eighth generation. I think that's about right. I can see that. Certainly the time was ripe and the scene was happening when my mom was designated the official witch of Los Angeles County and presented with an official scroll from the city of Los Angeles, signed by Supervisor Ernest Debs, then chairman of the Board of County Supervisors, during the Folk Day event at the Hollywood Bowl in 1968. Can you imagine? That would never happen today, ever. Well, Mom took the title and ran. She was on every talk show: Johnny Carson, Phil Donahue, Joey Bishop, Pamela Mason, Regis Philbin, The Merv Griffin Show, Life with Linkletter, TV shows What's My Line, Ralph Story's Weird World of Weird, You Asked For It, Good Morning America, TV news spots, traveled the country lecturing at various colleges, led spell chants, mostly sexual vitality spells, had a 3-page spread in Life magazine as the Good Witch of the West, wrote a series of books for Hallmark along with a calendar called Enchanted Witch Calendar for 1973, and a record album of love spells for Warner Brothers entitled Seduction Through Witchcraft. She was even quoted by John Lennon in an interview with David Wigg. He refers to it a witch on TV who was asked if she was a black witch or a white witch, and how she answered that there was no such thing. There's a power that people tap and use for whatever ends they use it, and how he agreed with her point of view. My mom was hanging out at City Hall in Los Angeles often. She was friends with Mayor Sam Yorty and appeared on his talk show many times. When my mom was a special guest and invited to visit Salem, Massachusetts, in honor of those who had been burned as witches in the 1600s, Mayor Sam Yorty sent a telegram to then Mayor Sam Zoll, warning him of her arrival. It read, felt obliged to warn you that Salem is about to be visited by a witch, the Los Angeles witch, that is. She has promised to put no evil spells on your good city. While I was in high school in the jazz band playing guitar, we would do performances here and there, and on one occasion, Councilman Gilbert Lindsay was speaking at some outdoor event and we were performing. I remembered that my mom knew him, so I went up to him, introduced myself, and he lit up. "Your mom is Louise? Your mom is Louise?" "Yep, sure was." "Tell her to have lunch with me." "Okay, will do." Around that time, my mom had opened a huge antique mart type of place where we had 50 dealers and sold antiques, collectibles, and books, called the Upstairs Downstairs Company in Pasadena, California, where she was the proprietress. I arranged for all of us to have lunch. My mom and I drove from Pasadena to downtown LA, picked up Councilman Lindsay, and drove him back to the shop in Pasadena, where he was given the grand tour. And then we all had lunch in the building, as we called it back then. Not too long after that, I sent Councilman Lindsay a letter stating that since I had done him a favor and got my mom to have lunch with him, it was my turn for a favor, and I asked him to get me backstage passes to a Joan Baez concert at the Greek Theater, which he did, and did a few more times for me over the years. Being the witch's daughter had some perks. My mom received tons of fan mail over the years, and it would be delivered to our house addressed simply The Witch, Los Angeles. The post office would deliver it, just like in the movie Miracle on 42nd Street, when the court decided that if the United States Postal Service recognized Santa Claus as Santa Claus, then it must really be Santa Claus. My mom was very intuitive and psychic, and at one time, the police enlisted her to see if she could pick up any vibes and information to figure out who the Zodiac killer was, and before they knew who committed the Tate LaBianca murders. My mom started her career on radio doing astrological blurbs and was nicknamed the Staff Witch as a result. In later years, Los Angeles 93 KHJ DJ Charlie Tuna would always give my mom a live on-air call for Halloween. It became a tradition. It was always entertainingly funny and a witty exchange. They would play Black Magic Woman by Santana or Witchy Woman by the Eagles as the intro bumper music before her spot. Whenever I hear those songs, I think of her. Our house was haunted. It was. How fitting for us. But then it stopped. There was a huge canyon fire in 1997 that impacted our house. No more ghost activity after that. My house growing up was rather normal. Birthday parties, New Year's Eve parties, holidays, getting married to my husband, Chuck Comiskey, on the deck, and my mom cooking all of the food for the guests. My mom always cooked. I don't remember her ever not cooking. She had a pickled egg specialty that my niece carries on to this day. My mom had a special close relationship with all of her grandchildren, and my family always had a sense of humor. My mom would be the first to crack up when they would poke fun at her. My twin brother Greg's kids had special ringtones on their phones depending on who was calling, and the one that made me laugh out loud was the Miss Gulch villain theme from The Wizard of Oz anytime my mom called one of them. I don't know if she knew it at the time, but it was very funny. Another unintentional funny thing was back when we all had pagers for work, my mom would page us 666 instead of the home number. I thought she was being funny. After a few years of this, I brought up her being funny, and she said, "What do you mean? 666 on the phone keypad spells mom." It does. That's even more hilarious. My mom was a prolific writer and poet. She wrote hundreds of articles for all kinds of magazines. She wrote for Spanish Cosmopolitan, Tennis Illustrated, Letters to a Witch column for Coronet Magazine, a sort of Dear Abby, and conducted interviews, one with the astronaut Buzz Aldrin. She became friendly enough with him that he gave her a couple of white pigeons that she brought home stapled inside of a paper bag. We had them for years and years. He sent her a Christmas card that I still have. Mom was a huge animal lover. We had a steady stream of cats, dogs, kittens, puppies, goats, rats, mice, geese, rabbits, beetles, lizards, a snake, you name it. She was notorious for heading off with one or more of the grandchildren to the animal shelter in search of the next cat or dog. She had a goat, Edith, for the last 10 years that was supposed to eat the weeds and brush, but mostly ate the wooden rails to the stairs and headbutted the door to the utility room, and it had to be chained shut. The beetle we had was a type that we would every now and then find in our yard. It had an ironclad armor of sorts. I don't know what the scientific name for it was, but Mom called it an ironclad beetle. She would take it on shows with her in a little jewel box as her mascot. The rest of the time it would live in a little glass on the windowsill in the kitchen with a potato. A lot has gone on in the over 50 years plus since the initial publication of this book, and I'm very happy to be a part of the reissue. I came across one of Mom's early ads in one of the local newspapers for doing astrological charts and readings, and her catchphrase was, "You are unique."
Jessica, your mom was a passionate astrologist and she founded her own astrology society. Can you please tell us something about it?
Well, my mom was a very good astrologer, and she could do the charts in her head and whip them out. And she had an organization called the Society of Professional Astrologers before she became the official witch.
Your mom was a talented writer and poet. Can you please tell us something about it?
She was pretty much a self-taught writer and an amazing poet. Maybe at some point I will gather up her poems and try to get them published, but she was a very prolific writer.
Your mom was very interested in numerology. Can you please tell us something about it?
Well, I don't know what I can tell you about the numerology aspects specifically, but she did a little collection of books for Hallmark, and one book in particular was called Your Lucky Numbers. And I was flipping through it to get some inspiration and figure out a few things. And my mom had a section called There's a Number in Your Name. And each letter represents a number. And then you add up the numbers to get the whole number for your first name and for your last name, which she used her name as an example. And she wrote Louise, and the name Louise added up to a number 9. And then she calculated Huebner, and the letters added up to a number 1 in total. 9-1. Well, she died on 9-1. So I find that very interesting, and that's what I'll say about numerology.
Dear Jessica, you are a musician and you play guitar. What is music? Is music magic?
Well, music is magical. I don't know if I can put myself in that category of being magical with my music, but I play guitar for my own amusement and amazement. For the most part, I enjoy it.
Jessica, you're an expert in valuing vintage guitars. Could you tell us more about it?
Well, it evolved. I was always interested in old guitars, and I would study them and hunt down information and buy them. And I couldn't buy the most expensive ones, so I would buy ones that always needed a little work, which taught me how to assess and appraise and figure out if something's been restored, not restored, altered in any way. And gradually that just evolved into, I had a stint at a famous music store where I became the main appraiser, and then gradually I just took that on as my what I have a knack for right now, and that's what I do, is appraise instruments for insurance purposes, a written appraisal to obtain values.
Dear Jessica, you particularly support women and widows in finding high-quality guitars. Please tell us something about it.
Generally, vintage guitar collecting is a very male-dominated arena, and the men may know what their instruments are worth, and then something bad happens and the women have these collections that they don't know what to do with. They don't know the first thing about where to go, what to do. And we live in an era where people do get taken advantage of, especially women, I think. So one of the things that I tout is I am in the corner of the female, helping them navigate the male-dominated arena and help them obtain the best prices they can get for their instruments. I work on commission, and so that the instruments are not, sold for below market value just because someone can take advantage of their situation and predicament. So I feel like that's an attribute. And if I were a man who had a big collection, I would definitely give my number to their significant others for the future, just in case. That would be my advice.
Jessica, where exactly is your workplace? How can I contact you?
I freelance and I'm self-employed, so I have a little page on Facebook. It's called Guitar Services to the Stars. You can find me on that, or my telephone number is listed. It's basically word of mouth for the most part.
Dear Jessica, thank you so much for this beautiful interview, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about my mom and give you information on what I do, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.